We won in the last time 50 states. Think of it, 50 states. We won every state. We then did great in the election. We got 12 million more votes or so, 12 million more votes than we got the first time.
Your anger against the truth is reprehensible.
The GOP Freedom Summit.
The Freedom Summit. They call it the Freedom Summit. You've got freedom? A guy at the Freedom Summit. You got a guy that they're praising in Donald Trump that has talked about terminating the Constitution. A guy who is saying he's going to arrest people just because he wants to arrest them. Said he's going to arrest General Mark Milley and boo somebody for criticizing Donald Trump at the, quote, Freedom Summit. Mm-hmm. How sick do you have to be to praise a man who supports rioters who beat the hell out of cops?
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
The man whose response to COVID was to inject bleach into an infected person's body stood in front of his cult followers, cocooned off in an echo chamber of crazy, and said this.
And when you think of it, how important elections are, you'd have millions of people alive right now if the election wasn't rigged. They'd be alive. Ukraine, Israel, the attack would have never been made. All these people would be alive. The cities would be thriving. To every American who is petrified that Joe Biden's catastrophic weakness will bring our country to ruin, which he has a great chance of doing, it's close to that anyway, close to economic ruin, I make you this promise as your president, and nobody else can say it. I will restore peace through strength. And yes, I am the only one that will prevent World War III, because we are very close to World War III.
Those same people then opted to boo Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie for daring to point out the obvious, that they are allergic to the truth.
What a shock. You're for Trump. I'm going to fall over dead. Now look, every one of those boos, every one of those catcalls, every one of those yells will not keep it, yes, sure, will not solve one problem we face in this country. Your anger against the truth is reprehensible.
This took place at a GOP summit, as you'd expect, in Mar-a-Lago County, was chock full of MAGA Republicans. But it is the response to said brainwashed response that I want to highlight here. Host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, well, he had a few things to say in regards to those boos. And I think it's worth every second of your time.
Well, there you go.
Preach it, brother.
Presidential
Preach
candidate
it.
Chris Christie over the weekend responding to the boos and jeers from pro-Trump crowd at the GOP Freedom Summit.
The Freedom Summit. They call it the Freedom Summit. You've got a guy at the Freedom Summit. You got a guy that they're praising in Donald Trump that has talked about terminating the Constitution. A guy who is saying he's going to arrest people just because he wants to arrest them. Said he's going to arrest General Mark Milley.
He loves the J6 choir.
Says he's going to arrest Ty Cobb, his former attorney, just because. The Freedom Summit, those people are jokes. Every one of them that booed are jokes. And he goes out, you're right, he goes out and he has the people who pummeled police officers with American flags that he praises, that he calls hostages. How sick do you have to be to actually go to an event and boo somebody for criticizing Donald Trump at the, quote, Freedom Summit? Mm-hmm. How sick do you have to be to praise a man who supports rioters who beat the hell out of cops and led to the death of 4 police officers, if you ask their families, led to the death of 4 police officers, and yet they say they support freedom. No, it's just the opposite. They support a tyrant, a guy who's promised he wants to suspend the Constitution, and a guy who has said, I'm going to just start arresting people after I'm elected president of the United States.
Also found liable of being a massive fraudster, and that's what will go next.
Well, and a judge saying he's a rapist. But I guess that freedom to rape, is that what they support?
Porn star.
Do you like that? I mean, seriously, how low can you go?
So Donald Trump is scheduled to take the stand today in his 200.
And the thing is, this is why I couldn't help but chuckle at the outrage attested to what Hillary Clinton said in the past in regards to Donald Trump's most avid supporters, is that if it looks like a cult and sounds like a cult, then what is it?
There wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. Maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
But she's talking about a formal deprogramming. That means at the hands of the government.
But you tell me, if the leader of the Democratic Party, so that would be Joe Biden, was facing 4 indictments with 91 felony counts, he had been found liable of sexually assaulting a woman and defaming her, that's E. Jean Carroll, guilty of fraud, sharing the nation's secrets. And then I told you, so all of that is happening and he's shooting up in the polls, et cetera. And you wouldn't say to me, you guys are in a cult? It's actually tame.
Because the truth is simply this. If 91 indictments won't lure them away, countless court judgments further cementing the falsity that was the idea that the 2020 election was stolen won't shift their belief in him. If an insurrection won't change their mind. If despite countless blatant signs of cognitive decline, where he doesn't know what city he's in.
A very big hello to a place where we've done very well. Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. And thank you. So, Sioux City, let me ask you.
Thinks Obama is still president.
Brian, it's all coming through Iran, and Obama he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't even mention them in his statements. It's all coming through Iran.
Well, you mean President Biden?
And Jeb Bush led us into the Iraq War, failed to put a dent in their view that Donald Trump is still sharp as a tack. If 3 marriages and an affair with a porn star and being found liable of sexual assault won't alter their God-fearing label that they put on this man, a man who cannot tell the Old Testament from the New Testament, all of that doesn't come close to altering their outlook. Nothing will. I mean, we've known this. He knows this. He literally said it, and he prefaced why he would run in the Republican Party.
My people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. No, they say, Trump, we love you too, man. Trump's voters are by far, I'm at 68, 69%. I'm at 90% total. Like, will you stay? Absolutely. I think it's 68 or 69%. Will you most likely stay? That gets into the 90s. Other guys are like at 10. A guy like Jeb Bush, he has a nobody, but he's like they don't have people. They have nothing. Rubio, soft. They're all soft.
So the only option is, as Joe Scarborough continues to point out here, is to condemn it all, and especially condemn those moderate Republicans who claim to be never associated with Donald Trump, but then have no problem bending the knee to him if it means gaining control. Because they will never be in favor of democracy as long as they align with somebody who continues to say things like this.
And when you think of it, how important elections are, you'd have millions of people alive right now if the election wasn't rigged. They'd be alive. We won every state. We then did great in the election. We got 12 million more votes or so, 12 million more votes than we got the first time.
Hey, Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.